People say the prairie shows you everything, your fears, your truth, and sometimes a stranger who changes your whole life. If you're new here, hit subscribe, because this is one story you won't forget. Elias Ward had seen plenty of strange things living alone on the far edge of Montana's prairie. But nothing came close to the sight he stumbled upon one cold, wind-bitten morning. A woman, thin, exhausted, determined, hammering broken planks together as if her life depended on it. He wasn't supposed to be there. He'd been riding along the creek, checking fence lines, when a glint of movement pulled his attention. He slowed his horse, narrowed his eyes, and saw her, sleeves rolled up, hair whipping in the wind, building what looked like the saddest excuse for a shelter he'd ever seen. But she wasn't clueless. She was desperate. Elias stepped off his horse and walked closer until he was hidden behind a ridge. He didn't want to frighten her. Something about the way she worked, with urgency, with pain, made him watch quietly. Then he saw it. She winced, grabbed her side, and nearly dropped the hammer. Blood, faded but visible. She was hurt. That was the first shock. The second came when she pulled a small wooden box from a sack beside her, held it close, then tucked it deep inside the half-built shelter like it was more valuable than gold. Elias stayed hidden. She didn't need a rancher storming toward her. She needed safety, but he also couldn't walk away. She finally noticed him when a gust of wind carried the sound of his boot brushing a stone. She spun around quick, eyes wide, breath sharp, fear like he'd never seen. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently, hands raised. Her voice shook. "Then don't come closer." Elias froze. Not because she scared him, but because he could tell she'd been through something real, something dangerous. "You're hurt," he said. "I'll live. You're building a shelter out of broken boards. It's all I've got." He admired her grit. Most people would have collapsed by now, but she kept going. "My name's Elias." He tried again. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned back to her broken shelter and forced another bent plank into place, hands trembling as she hammered. Elias knew then. She wasn't running from poverty. She was running from someone. "Look," he said softly, "the storm rolling in tonight will tear that shelter apart. Let me help." No, this time it wasn't fear in her voice. It was something else. Protection. The box. She kept glancing at it. He wanted to ask about it, but her defensive stance told him she wouldn't say a word. "Fine," Elias said, stepping back, "but I'm not leaving you out here alone. Not like this." She lowered the hammer, exhausted. "Why do you care?" He surprised himself with the truth. "Because you look like nobody ever has." The woman swallowed hard, fighting emotion. "My name is Lila," she finally whispered. That was the moment everything changed. And Elias had no idea that what she was hiding in that wooden box would soon drag both of them into a danger he never expected. The storm, the box, and the truth. She didn't want to tell the storm, arrived earlier than expected, sweeping across the plains like a dark curtain closing over the world. Elias didn't try to force Lila to leave, but he stayed near her, close enough to help if she needed it, far enough not to scare her. "You can wait it out in my cabin," he offered again as thunder cracked in the distance. "No, I can't be anywhere near people." He frowned. "You think I'm people?" She almost smiled. Almost. As the sky darkened, the wind tore at her flimsy shelter. Boards rattled. Her hair whipped across her face. Finally, she sank to her knees, exhausted and freezing. "Okay," she whispered. "Just for the storm. No questions." Elias nodded and helped her onto his horse. She was light, a reminder she hadn't eaten a real meal in days. He rode slow toward his cabin, careful not to touch her more than necessary, but she still tensed every time the horse jolted. Inside his warm, fire-lit cabin, she relaxed only slightly. Her eyes darted toward the wooden box she refused to let go of. He set a bowl of stew near her. "Eat, please." She hesitated. Then hunger pushed pride aside. While she ate, he spoke softly. "Who hurt you?" "No one," she said too quickly. "Lila, I saw the bruises." She froze. He didn't push. After a long silence, she finally said, "My husband died 3 months ago. His brother, Jonas, came for our land. When I refused to sign it over, he made sure I couldn't stay." Elias clenched his jaw. "So I ran," she continued. "And the box, it's the only thing he didn't take." "What's in it?" She held it tighter. "Memories, and something he'd kill to have." That sent a chill through the room, but Elias didn't pry. Instead, he grabbed a blanket and draped it gently around her shoulders. Lila looked up, really looked at him for the first time. "You're kind," she whispered. "I'm human," he replied softly. The moment lingered, warm, intimate, until lightning split the sky. She flinched, and instinctively Elias moved closer, steady, but not touching her unless she reached. And she did. Her hand found his, small, trembling, trusting. That was the moment the distance between them began to disappear. But outside, unnoticed in the roaring storm, a figure on horseback paused near the edge of Elias's land, watching the cabin's glowing window. Someone had found her, the man who came for her, and the choice that changed everything by morning. The storm had passed, but Lila's nightmares had not. Elias found her sitting beside the window, clutching the wooden box, shadows under her eyes. "Did you sleep at all?" he asked softly. "A little." "That's a lie." She almost smiled. "I'm not used to safety." "You will be." Before she could answer, Elias stepped outside to check the livestock and froze. Horse tracks, fresh, too fresh. He hurried back inside. "Lila, someone was here last night." Her face drained of color. "Jonas." "He's coming," Elias said, "but he's not taking you." She shook her head. "You don't understand. He's dangerous. He's killed before." Elias stepped closer, voice firm but calm. "Then he picked the wrong ranch." Lila's eyes softened with something new, admiration, fear, maybe love, but she didn't have time to answer. A sharp knock hit the door. Elias grabbed his revolver but kept it low. "Get behind me." She didn't argue. He opened the door. A man stood there, lean, mean-eyed, smile like poison. "Jonas." "I'm looking for my sister-in-law," he said casually. "Poor thing ran off. Worried sick about her." Elias stared without blinking. "Not here." Jonas glanced past him. "Mind if I check?" "Yes," Elias replied simply. For a moment, dust and silence filled the space between two men who knew exactly what the other was capable of. Then Lila stepped forward. "No more running," she whispered behind Elias. He turned, shocked as she moved beside him, still shaking but strong. Jonas's face twisted. "Lila, you and I have unfinished business." Elias stepped in front of her again. Jonas sneered. "You think you can protect her from me?" Elias didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "I know I can." Jonas shifted, hand sliding toward his belt. Elias moved first. A single warning shot hit the dirt inches from Jonas's boot. Jonas froze. "That was your only chance to leave alive," Elias said, steady as stone. Something in Jonas's expression cracked. Not fear, but recognition. He couldn't win this fight. "You'll regret this," he spat, turning his horse sharply. "Both of you." When he disappeared over the ridge, Lila collapsed into Elias's arms, shaking, relieved, overwhelmed. "You shouldn't have risked yourself," she whispered. "I'd risk more," he said. "For you." Her breath hitched. "Why?" "Because somewhere between watching you fight the wind and watching you fight your past, I fell for you." Lila's eyes filled, not with fear this time, but something warm. Something returning. She touched his face gently. I think I'm falling too. Elias smiled slow and real. Then stay, not because you have to, because you want to. She looked around the cabin, the safety, the warmth, the man willing to stand between her and the world, and for the first time in months, she breathed freely. "I'll stay," she whispered. And just like that, the story of a woman building a broken shelter turned into the beginning of a life she never thought she'd have.